Welcome, everybody. This is Knowing Your Worth. So I'm Kyle Hedin. I own Illustrious Hardwoods in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm also the host of the Floored-U-Cation podcast. I've been in flooring for 6 years, and one of the things that I picked up on really quickly as soon as I got in a bunch of online Facebook groups and communities is that there's constantly installers in there asking, how much do I charge for this? How much do I charge for that? What's the going market rate? And, you know, there are people that are working for retailers, they're complaining about the rates they're getting. But nobody was doing anything to better the situation. It just seemed like everything was accepted as is. So there were a couple of guys that I found, and there's James Dowling, founded Flooring Installers of America. Ken Ballin was in there. You can actually go over to the FCE and see a big picture of him. Goofy guy, bald guy with the glasses. They're advocating that installers, they're like, charge more, know your worth, do all this stuff. And I had pretty much just started my own business, and it was really interesting to see this encouragement to push the limits of what's possible. So you got these guys just shouting that we're worth more than what we're getting. And I think installers are seriously undervalued. We don't often know what we should be charging. So it's, where am I at here? We got, let's do this. So somebody in the audience, who's an installer? Marquise, you're an installer, right? What do you want to make a year? If you're a one-man show, what should you make a year? 100 grand? Beautiful number. That's what I think. I think every installer should make a minimum of $100,000 a year. But what's that number? Okay? It's $500 a day, 250 days a year. That gives you 2 weeks of vacation and weekends off because you should be working weekends. Floors are not an emergency. That's going to net you or gross you $125,000. Once you pay taxes, depending on where you live, you're somewhere like $93,000, $96,000. Close enough, right? Problem is, you only took into account your salary. That was your pay. What about your business, your insurance, the truck, the trailer, the tools, all that other stuff? That all costs more money. So we need to get that accounted for. It started off really simple for me. I went out on my own, and I was the dollar a square foot guy. My skills weren't there. I was working out of a Chevy Cavalier, and I would throw all my tools in it on the weekends, and I would go do these little side jobs and charge $1 a square foot for laminate and $1 a linear foot on baseboards. And I just started kind of looking at it, and I was like, well, yeah, it's good money when I'm not paying taxes and it's under the table, but I can't run a business that way. It's not going to work. And so it was 10 cents here, 25 cents there, and you keep kind of upping the amount that you're charging, and then you might start losing some bids, so then you can back it down, and then you learn how to sell a little bit better, and you can inch it up again, and you just kind of try and keep growing it until you cap out in your market. It comes down to you need all kinds of things, okay? So you can't just go necessarily start charging more. You need to learn how to sell the value. So you've got, there's human psychology, you've got marketing, sales techniques, business structures. How are you going to structure your business so you can save as much money? Certifications. Can you go and get a CTI, be a certified tile installer? Can you get NFIC over there with PJ and do woven carpet goods, CFI, and NWFA for wood? You know, you can go and get these things. You get the certifications. I'm the only certified flooring installer for hardwood and laminate within, I think, the next 70 miles from me in Phoenix. So I can say in all my marketing in Phoenix, I am the only certified flooring installer for hardwood and laminate. Does that really mean anything? If you put value on it, great. That was the whole point of it, is that somebody else put value on it and I can now charge more than them. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm a better installer than the next guy. Client putting value on it, that's what matters. Books, right? Psychology. If you can go in and you learn how to sell better because you're following along with the person that you're talking with and you're giving them what they want, it's a lot easier. You're not selling them, they're selling themselves. So there's little tiny things that you can do to get out there and up your worth, and it doesn't matter if you land $3,000 more project than the next one, because the client told themselves that you're the guy, not that the price is the thing. Price is hardly ever the issue. It's one of the last things considered. So your time is money, obviously, right? And a lot of things that people do, right? It's always a free estimate. I'm going to come out, I'm going to measure everything, I'm going to look at the job for you. But your time is valuable. You can give a free estimate on the phone once you actually know your numbers. When you know what it costs you to get out there for the day, and you can look at your past projects, you can sit there and know, like, a standard luxury vinyl plank project for me, $9 to $14 a square foot, all in. If carpet's coming out, it's closer to $9. That includes $350 to $450 in product allowance. You're going to get brand new baseboards, around $9, $10 a square foot. If tile's coming out, it can go as high as $14, $15, but I'm generally in that range. I can quote you over the phone, just talking to you. I don't have to do a thing. But you want me to come out? It's a $50 consultation fee. I was like, people are crazy. You can't charge to go out. You can. No, I've had one person that was like, well, I don't want to pay the fee. Well, I already gave you a number. So if that falls in your range and you don't like whatever the other people say, I'm happy to come out. Let me know. Most people, oh, I get it. It's okay. $50, $100. They're willing to pay it. The other reason you want to do that is if you can get somebody to give you a small amount of money, it's easier for them to give you a larger amount of money. Nobody wants to write a $5,000, $10,000 check for deposits to you, but if you can get them to give you a tiny bit of money, it's much easier for them to then go and give you a larger amount of money. So that's, you get the guys, right? Everyone's going out and they see their boss with the $5,000 check, and so I was like, yeah, that's what I want, right? I'm going to go get all this money. And then I found out that running a business is actually pulling me in 5,000 directions. And if you're going out and you're doing free estimates, and then you're running over to the distributor and picking up materials, and then you got to deliver them, and then you're going to Home Depot in the morning because you got to pick up a wax ring or whatever it is, right? You got to get a board to do a subfloor repair. All this time is valuable. You're going out of your way, and a lot of times I don't think installers are charging for that time. So you need to make sure you're accounting for it and running the proper profit margins on what you're doing. So anything you touch should automatically be marked up. I know people that will go and stop and buy the wax ring, and they sell it to the customer for the exact same price. Well, what about your time and gas to get there and then get it to the client's house? That's worth something. You can't keep giving away your time. Let's see. It's another thing of, right, I got a young family, so, excuse me, I got a 9-year-old daughter, 11-year-old son. They do Cub Scouts. I like to go camping with them when they have campouts. I have to take Monday nights off to do their meetings. Like, I can't be everywhere, and so I have to make sure I'm charging enough that I can take the time off to do those things. If you're sitting there charging bare minimum and you're working 5, 6, 7 days a week, you can't, and these long hours, 14 days, when do you fit the family in? You got to have, the money's great, but if you don't have the family to come home to anymore, what's the point of having the money? It's pointless. And honestly, if the family leaves you, man, that's going to cost you way more. Nobody wants that. And it's not about we're all self-employed, so there's no, right? We don't get the 401k plan. We don't get paid vacations. We're not getting any of that. If you're not charging enough to be putting money aside for the future, how are you going to install when you're 80 years old? Are you going to be able to keep that up? Probably not. Could you transfer into like working for a retailer and doing sales, something like that, sure. But you shouldn't have to. There's enough money to be made up front on this end to support you on the back end. And you just have to know how to go out there and get it. The knees, right? Knees are going to go bad. So that's the big thing. But what's that surgery going to cost you? What's that downtime going to cost you? How do you account for that 20 years down the road if you're not charging enough right now? So as I said, right, like how much do you need to make a day? Okay, so that $500 is going to get you your $125,000 a year. But like I said, you have these other business expenses that are going on, all right? And let's see here, if I go to this one. Let's go up. All right, so you make this $93,000 a year. That's great. That was your pay. You are now taken care of. You can support your family. But like I said, you have the business. So do we need 600, 800, 1,000 a day? What's it going to be to put you over the top to pay all the taxes and stuff, all right? So my insurances are roughly like $4,500 a year. At 250 days, that breaks down to $18 a day. I drove 23,000 miles last year. I averaged 14 miles per gallon between my truck and pulling my trailer and stuff. Gas was about $3.75 on average because I put premium in. Well, that's $24.65 a day. Big expense, right? Now we keep adding it up. Now we got vehicle repairs. I'm going to need tires. I'm going to need oil changes. You got your employees, right? What's it cost to match their taxes? It's not just hourly wage. It's the workman on them. It's the matching the taxes. Do you provide an IRA with a match for them? All of these things, right? You got your rent. So what's it cost to have a building or a storage unit, whatever you got there, any loans you have. If you've got loans to buy something, you've got that plus the interest. Equipment repairs, right? Something's going to break. You got to keep your tools up. Maybe you need a new piece of equipment. Maybe you want to go buy the big Terminator from National and start doing huge take-up projects. You know, that's a $40,000 machine. How are you going to get there if you can barely pay your bills? So what's it all cost? Like, you have to sit down, and if you've got a bookkeeper or yourself, just sit down and start looking at your numbers. What does it actually cost you to run your business per day? Is it until you know that number, you don't know what you have to charge. Everyone's asking, you know, oh, what's the average? Well, I get $250 for luxury vinyl plank, and I get $2, and I charge $3, and I got a guy on the Jersey Shore that can charge $4, and it's all, you know, you're going to get this huge range of stuff. But what do you actually need? I don't care what anybody else in your area is doing. Okay, if you know your numbers and you can go in and tell the client that it's going to be X amount of dollars, when they say, well, can I get a discount for cash? No, you can't. This is my bare minimum. This is what I have to operate at in order to meet my costs and be profitable and provide a living for myself, my family, my employees. You can't haggle it when you actually know. And that's the problem, is a lot of people don't know, so they're willing to take $1,000 off the drop, right? Hours $3,500. Well, my budget's $25. All right, I'll do it. And then at the end of the day, you get the check and you're miserable doing the project because you're not making that extra $1,000. You get it, you go pay all your bills, and you're broke again. If it's $3,500, it's $3,500. There's no wiggle room on it. You just can't do it. But you don't know that until you know what your actual numbers are going to be. Let's So how do you get to knowing them, all right? You got to do time studies. So when you're on the job, you have to time, you know, how much LVP am I installing an hour, right? How much baseboard can I put up at a time in a day, right? If I just go in, I'm just doing baseboard that day. As a one-man crew, two-man crew, are we doing 300 linear feet, 500 linear feet? Once you know what you have to make a day, and you know how long it takes you to do something, you can start breaking it down and getting an actual rate of what you should be charging per square foot, per linear foot because you know what you need to make a day and what you average on a day. And yes, I know it's not always going to be the same. It depends on layout, all these things. I'm not saying take one job and take a look at what you install in LVP over 3 days. This might take you a month. It might take you 3 months. You might have to redo it in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years down the road. And it's ever evolving. Because costs change, you may speed up and get better. You bring a new guy on, he might slow you down for a little bit. And your prices can fluctuate up and down. There's nothing saying that once you pick a price, it has to stay there. Every business is unique. I have really low overhead, so I can hit different numbers, and the next guy over might have to be $1 more than me on everything. Don't worry about it. Just use your numbers. That's what's important. They're yours for a reason. I get all the time, well, I can't charge that in my area. That just doesn't work down here. And I agree, there's going to be some price differences, right? Like rural Georgia is totally different than down in Manhattan or Los Angeles, right? There's going to be some differences. But at the end of the day, there's generally always a high-end market because they sell luxury vehicles in your area, right? There's probably a Maserati dealer in your state. The cost of that Maserati at that dealership on the East Coast is the same as the West Coast, all right? People are buying high-end stuff. So you have to determine what business model you want to go after. Do you want to be the high-end guy and provide this luxury service with all the bells and whistles, or do you want to just throw stuff down? Neither model is wrong, but you have to know that you have to work within this range of prices that would work for it. But there is a way to compete at the top of the market, and there's people in your area that will pay top dollar in every project. To be honest, I look to be in a 30 to 40% closing rate, and I'm really happy there. So that's where I find that I can maintain having people that are willing to pay the top end in my market. So for me, everything is a negotiation. I don't care. Like I'll haggle in Walmart. I'll haggle at McDonald's. I don't care, right? You don't get what you don't ask for. So the biggest thing that you learn when you get into sales, which if you opened your own business, you are now a salesman and you are an installer last. You're doing marketing, you're doing sales, you're doing bookkeeping, like you're 1,000 other things before installer. That is the last part of the project. So you need to learn that no is not a bad thing. You don't get what you don't ask for. So it doesn't hurt to go and try to raise your price a quarter or 50 cents or do these things. And the worst thing that's going to happen is they tell you no. If you're booked out 6 weeks or more, there's no reason you shouldn't be increasing your prices. And you have to find that thing, right? How fast can I fill that queue back up? So if you're 6, 8, 10 weeks out, and if it keeps going further, you should keep going up and up and up. And if you land that big whale, you get Moby Dick, awesome, right? But if you keep getting a bunch of no's, it's okay because you're going to whittle down your queue. You lower the prices back down a little bit. You fill the queue back up. You can raise them back up. You go after Moby Dick again. Maybe you land something that's at a 50% gross profit margin. How great would that be? That would be an excellent payday. But you're not going to get there by not negotiate not only with yourself but with your clients on what you're offering and what you're charging. Even with So this has all kind of been like if you're the independent guy, right? But what if you subcontract for a store? Why are you walking into the store? Here's the first question that's always asked when a subcontractor walks in. What are your rates? One, most likely because you're going to be a 1099 contractor, it's illegal for the store to set your rates. They can't do that. You can go in and negotiate with them. You should be saying, here are my rates, and they can come back and tell you what they would like to pay, and you can haggle it out, right, and come in on something that you've compromised on. But the biggest mistake that I think subcontractors make is when they walk in and they just say, well, what are your rates? And then they accept them, right? Everybody knows that Empire and Home Depot and all these Lowe's workrooms generally have really low rates, and people get frustrated working for them. But nobody's going in and saying, well, I want this much. It's just, well, I'm going to accept what you pay me. That's not doing doing anybody any favors. We're not going to change the industry and get ahead by not running proper businesses. You're not just an installer. Even if you're subcontracting, you still operate a business. It's just not necessarily on the level that the guy that's out there selling all his contracts direct to general contractors or homeowners is doing. So stop accepting what's being offered to you and write up your own rate sheet, bring it in, and tell them this is what I want, and go from there. Let's see here. So, I mean, what are you worth? What do you need to make? It's, to me, owning a business should give you unlimited income potential, right? It's always scalable. So what are you worth? That's the big question here. And don't be like Honey Boo Boo, all right? Don't hollering over $1, right? Let's get $10 or $20 or $50. That's what I got. Do we have questions? Anybody interested in how I got to where some things? What do you got, Daniel?
Excel spreadsheets or anything for where you got your numbers that you can share or anything?
Honestly, I'll be honest in that I've been naturally good at numbers. I had a buddy of mine in a BNI group I was in, which is like a network marketing group, and he was like, well, how much does it cost you to run your business a day? How much? And I was like, it's like $500 a day. That's my minimum. I'm not going to go out for less than that. I won't start the truck. I won't do your 30 square foot bathroom for less than that. And he was, but you don't know. And I was like, all right, fine. So he bugged me for a couple months. I finally sat down with the bookkeeper, turned out $500. No, I don't have spreadsheets. I just have a weird knack for numbers, but it's, like I said, I sat there and I watched, I generally work by myself, so I know how much base I can get up in a day. I know or engineered hardwood, like I just know how long these things take me from doing them day in and day out for a couple of years, and I've figured out what I wanted to make to support my family and try and buy investment properties, and I threw those numbers together, and that's what I charge now. And I don't care that I'm the expensive guy. It doesn't hurt my feelings that you tell me no, that you don't want me to do your job, because somebody's going to come along and say yes, and then they go and rave about me, and then I get 5 of their friends to come along and do it as well. Anybody else? As in, so like a guarantee, right? Arizona, being a licensed contractor, I have to warranty my workmanship for 2 years. If you buy materials from me, because I pick the materials I want to install, I'll put a 5-year warranty on it. I don't hesitate to do it. As for repairs, if it's my fault, I'll go out. I'll fix it. Right? I make mistakes. I'm human. If you get out there and you can assess it and it's a manufacturing defect or something like that, well, then you got to pay me. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. If it's a quick, easy fix, I'm probably going to do it. But, I don't want to create that friction. I want to run the business that, if you're charging luxury prices, you have to provide the luxury service. If it's a 5-10 minute fix, just do it. It's not a big deal. But if it's sitting there, you're going to have to rip out 5 rows of flooring and order a box and whatever it is, right? Like, you got to charge for your time. You're going to go out there, you're going to waste half a day. So that's how I'd go about that. Anybody else? I'm sorry, with what?
You see them on TV a lot. Bath wraps.
Oh, like the rebath. Yeah. Well, it's convenience, right? So rebath will come in and they'll charge you $7,000 to $10,000 to wrap your shower in a new cover. Is that expensive? What's it worth to have your shower back in a day? But as a tile installer, somebody out there setting, it's going to take you a week, maybe more, to do a really nice shower. There's guys doing 3x5 tub surrounds in Phoenix for $1,500. Why? Okay, you're in there for days making a work of art. If you're actually providing proper waterproofing and everything's to standards, why are you so much cheaper when you're giving them a work of art versus a plastic cover over their current tub? That's silly. So I don't think it's expensive. I think they're great at selling. Just like Empire and Home Depot and Lowe's have excellent salesmen getting you 40, 50, 60% profit margins. Look, you're not ripping anybody off. You gave them a price and they accepted it, okay? You can't tell me that I'm wrong for charging what I charge. Sorry, I didn't hold a gun to their head, right? They just were able to make the sale. So go in and make the sale and earn what you're worth. Anybody else? Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. I got stickers for our Academy. And check out the podcast, because this is what I cover every week with different business owners, is we go over how to get you running a successful and profitable business, and you get to hear from your peers on how to make it happen. So thank you.